There's also other situations where we can have some damage caused by just straight line winds. And as we see this graphic that you're putting up here right now, this is similar to the situation that was in southeastern Massachusetts in Mattapoisett last weekend.
Yes.
We had the same sort of warning when we did have a EF0 tornado in fact form.
Yes, exactly. So when you get these situations, you get that rotation nearby. And again, just like that situation, we saw the same type of signature where it looked like there you could see the couplets and you could see the colors touching. So in this case, again, there's nothing confirmed, but with the warning, you want to take the warning seriously. You want to avoid windows, go to your basement, and we have that tornado safety here on your screen now. So this is some of the advice that I would give. Find your lowest level, interior room. Again, if you're near Situate right now, or if you're in North Providence, up towards Smithfield, this storm is heading your way. These are moving very quickly, and it won't take a lot of time to get into your neighborhood, so you want to make sure that you are in the lowest level of your home. Of course, if there's a stairwell, find underneath the stairwell as well. And again, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And I just want to show this one more graphic. This is a tornado definition graphic. So this is just, again, between a watch and a warning. So right now we have a tornado warning in place. It does not mean that it is actually occurring, but it means that radar indicated potential rotation showing that system that could potentially have a tornado on the ground. I want to go back now to the velocity scan, is what we call it. It's the red and greens. That shows the directions of the wind, and that's from Doppler radar, and that also indicates, again, potential funnel or rotation in the atmosphere that the radar is picking up on. I want to see the latest scans. I'm going to widen the view just to see where I can find my spot. So we were watching this area near Situate, and you can see it's frozen right now, but it shows the latest scan. Just south of Saundersville, notice there's this red and green couplet touching each other here. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer. I'm looking between Route 116, this is Peck Hill Road, near Saundersville, so Central Ave and, I'm trying to see the road here, can't see it. So Peck Hill Road and Central Ave. And I get a little bit closer in some of these neighborhoods. This is the area that I'm focused on for if there were a tornado, this is where it would be. Notice the bar I have at the top. It says toward and away. That's the wind direction. So green is the winds moving towards the radar, which is located in Taunton, Mass, and the reds are away. So that indicates, again, think of a circular rotation, a funnel rotation, showing that wind direction changing. So that's what we're looking at. Again, you can see the radar updated at 8:43, so this is in live time.
Let's talk about pace here, the pace of this storm. So this is moving pretty quickly. So if there's anything good about this situation is the fact that this storm is going to be, this system will be out of here rather quickly.
It'll be moving rather quickly, but at the same time, if there were a tornado, there's not enough time for people to try to react to it if they're ahead of the storm. So if people were, let's say, Bishop Hill Road, again, I'm looking at, I believe this is Situate. You can see 295 popping up on the screen. So we're looking from, this is Situate up towards Johnston and Smithfield. So going up in that direction, this is where that threat of a tornado would be. Again, this is radar indicated. There's no confirmation yet if it's on the ground, if there's anything on the ground, but that would be where, if there wasn't a tornado, maybe some pretty significant wind damage as well from this system tracking on through. So again, you can see that Shun Pike right there. That's a heavily traveled road. Sometimes we're in the morning commute, of course. And you can see, again, I'm focusing on this area, Peck Hill Road and Byron Randall Road. So that is what we're looking at. If you were in this vicinity, near Bishop Hill Road, Central Ave, Shun Pike, you'd want to be in the lowest level of your home. Reservoir Ave, Bishop Heights. This storm is now tracking north and east. You can see, again, some more velocity scans just updated right on your screen. I'm just moving it over here on my computer, and you can see, again, the reds and the greens touching. It's not your typical tight rotation, so it's a broad circulation, broad rotation. So what that means is it's not a, for lack of better words, a significant signature, but it's there, it's radar indicated, so if there was a tornado on the ground, this is where it would be, with those reds and greens touching. And again, I wanted to go back to that.
Look at this, Stephen, we're gonna look at the DOT camera here. This is right in that area where you're talking about. We can see rain falling from the camera. The roads are clearly wet. The camera itself isn't moving, so it might just be a little bit further from here where there might be strong winds, or it's just protected in an area where it might not be too windy, but this is the area that we're looking at where you're tracking the storm cells that might be causing a potential tornado and where the warning is in effect right now.
Right, Kate, and on top of the tornado warning, of course, there's other threats such as the flash flood warning, which is in effect. I actually believe that may have, yep, that's still up there, it's still up there. That's also the severe thunderstorm warning below that. So I'm gonna just go over the chroma here, and I'm gonna try to get on the screen here. And again, so just so you know, tornado observed. It just changed, so that tornado is on the ground, it is observed, it's no longer radar indicators. So let's go back. I'm going to go back to my computer quickly. I'm going to go back to the graphic that I want to show you guys. That would be what I was looking at, I believe, Shun Pike and Peck Hill Road is the vicinity that I was looking at.
So tornado observed means that
It's on the ground.
It's on the ground.
There's a tornado on the ground.
There's a confirmed tornado on the ground.
Confirmed tornado on the ground. It looks like there must have been some sort of spotter that indicated. I'm just kind of.
So you can see the wind picking up. I'll let you get your graphics loaded over there, Steve, as we're looking at this camera once again. This is 295. This is near 116. Alex, who's our 114. Okay, so you can see the camera moving just. I'm sorry. Plainfield Pike. Okay, so that's there, and it is moving a little bit more. Now, this isn't where we have the observed tornado that Stephen was just talking about. He is now on the storm velocity graphic here, and you let us know when you're ready to go back to that to sort of pinpoint exactly where this observed tornado is.
So I'm looking now, we have it up on your screen. I'm looking at Shun Pike, Situate Ave. This is a Route 14. And again, so when you see these reds, it's a broad circulation. When you see these reds and greens touching, that is showing the wind direction going in 2 different speeds. So I would see along Shun Pike and Route 14 is where that tornado would be, and it's traveling northeast. So this area is going to be traveling north and east towards 295. Looks like it may end up crossing near Situate Ave, if not up towards Central Ave across 295. So if you know
which is what we're looking at right now. So
so we are looking. Do we know what direction this is looking in from our?
This is north and south on 295 near. Plainfield Pike.
Plainfield Pike. Okay, so yep, that looks like it's.
Which is a little further south.
Right, a little bit further south. So that would be yes. So I believe I'm on the right one here. Maybe not. I'm going to go back up to the velocity scan up to where we were. So yeah, if you're on Shun Pike, Situate Ave, Central Ave, that is where this storm is. Again, it's a very broad circulation. You can see now there's still some up here. So it's pretty much, I would say, pretty much right across this 295 where it meets Route 6, excuse me.
Which is a very heavily populated and traveled area, especially this time of day.
Yeah, morning commute. That is where this cell would be with a tornado. Again, the circulation, it's broad, but there's an observed tornado, as my source there on the screen said. So
this is 295 at Route 44. We're looking at, our director says right now.
Which is, again, a little further south of the area where you're focused on, where that observed tornado
where I'm focused on is, that 295 Route 6 corridor. And again, this storm is traveling so quickly, so when my velocity scan updates, it could be already it could be actually a couple miles away.
Can you go a little wider with that radar? I know this is something that, as a meteorologist, you have the knowledge to sort of, decipher what's happening there. But I think for the common folk, then they see something like this, can see the borders on the state, the towns and all that. And you can see sort of where this storm is, how fast it's moving, and when it'll be out of here.
Yeah, so this storm is moving very quickly north and east. So again, I'm thinking North Providence, Greenville. It was in Situate. It's now moving out of Situate and going towards Greenville, North Providence, up towards Smithfield as well. You can see the darker shades of the reds here indicate that's the rainfall. So that's the heavy rainfall, potentially even some hail with this system as well.
Stephen, this is 295 at Route 6 south here. You can see the rain coming down, a few cars out on the road, but this is also in that area where there's the tornado warning right now.
Yes, so that area that I was watching is traveling near this area that we're showing right now on your screen. I can't tell what direction. Do we know what direction we're looking in? Or that was southbound. So we got our radar up. So again, you can see this storm is moving very quickly. There's 295 in the center of your screen.
When does this tornado warning expire?
The tornado warning expires 9:15.
Okay, so that's still another 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, and if you notice, I'm going to try to run the view here. So this tornado warning actually includes parts of Bristol County. So it goes over the Rhode Island border into Attleboro, Mansfield, including looks like Franklin as well, up towards. Let's see if I can get zoomed in on here. So yep, you can see Foxborough, Rentham, Plainville, North Attleboro. That tornado warning also includes that part of southeastern Mass. So again, it's a very changing situation with this system pushing through. They're moving very quickly. I'm trying to find the exact speed on the storm, but it's traveling very quickly.
Well, you're looking for that. This is 295 at Plainfield Pike right now. Again, what we can see is rainy conditions, cars moving fine in both directions, but this is also under that tornado warning area that we're talking about.
And we're scheduled to go off the air just before 9 o'clock, but obviously, I'm assuming we'll stay on until we get through this situation. I'll wait to hear from, I just heard from our director, Alex, that we will stay on here on Fox Providence until we get past this severe weather situation. Again, to recap, about 4 or 5 minutes ago, Stephen, we had a observed tornado that did. Is the correct terminology touchdown?
So yes, so when we have the terminology of radar indicated, that means that the radar that is located in Taunton or Norton is picking up on the rotation reaching the surface. That doesn't mean necessarily that it's actually on the ground. It could be in the atmosphere still circulating. It could be a funnel cloud. But when we have one that is observed, that means that the
radar observed. Is that radar observed? Like it's not maybe to the naked eye if you're on the ground observed.
So it went from radar indicated to radar observed.
Right.
So,
But the National Weather Service team has to come out and actually be the ones to confirm it in the aftermath that it was a tornado, right?
yes, they'd have to come back and review the damage and come out and say,
The path
you know,
of it.
and the path and the strength. It's not. I'm not sure yet if it's been an eyewitness confirmed, but it is an observed tornado on the ground per the Doppler radar. So what that means is if you're in the path of that storm, you want to get to the lowest level of your home. So if you're in Greenville, North Providence, up towards northern parts of Providence, the city itself, Pawtucket, Attleboro.
Lincoln's included in there?
Lincoln, Cumberland, yep. There, I can actually go, I'm going to pull up the graphic now that shows the warning, and you'll see that purple shaded box momentarily.
We also have another report here. It's looking like from our storm team that there was possibly a touch ground in Scituate in the Hope section of town.
That was, yes.
Would that make sense?
So
Yeah.
that was where the signature, where I was looking, again, this storm is moving so quickly that although we're looking live on TV at the signature.
It could have happened 30 seconds ago or a minute ago, right?
It's moving so quickly that it's almost like one of those situations where you want to look ahead to where it's happening next.
And that email actually from TJ
Right,
Del Santo
right.
telling
Yeah,
us
yep.
that you know, to quote what he said, signature on the radar that debris was being lofted in the air in the Hope section of town.
Yep.
Yeah, so I actually want to pull up one more other graphic that I can show you guys. It's called the correlation coefficient, which I believe my colleague TJ was looking at. This usually is used for hail signatures, but it also can show what we call a debris ball, and you can actually see it very nicely here. Actually, a couple of these. Again, this could be potentially hail, or it could also be potentially where the tornado is. So I'm going to try to get it zoomed in here.
Focuses on that part of the state, that part of the region right now where the tornado warning is, but here in East Providence, you may be able to hear it
Thunder.
while we're on the air.
Yeah.
Thunder,
Rain coming
really
down.
heavy rain
Yeah,
coming
heavy
down through
rainfall
this
coming
part of the
down.
state. But this area of the state not included, correct, Steve, in that tornado warning?
So, yep, the tornado warning does not include our station itself here, but it does include parts of Providence Metro, Pawtucket, North Providence. It goes all the way up to Woonsocket, and as far west as, it looks like Foster. So the storm now is, though, moving north and east, so I would say the western half of that cone is not as much out of risk as the northeastern part of the state is. So if you were in Woonsocket, Cumberland, Lincoln, Pawtucket, Providence, North Providence, if you're over the border in Massachusetts, Attleboro, Mansfield, Foxborough, Wrentham, Franklin, you were all in that tornado warning. Again, this is a radar-observed tornado, which would indicate that there potentially is one on the ground, but we have not gotten confirmed yet reports of a eyewitness account of seeing a tornado on the ground.
And
So-
as we know, these can touch ground, pick up speed again, touch down
Exactly.
again. So
Yes.
it's not like a one and done type situation.
Yes,
That's
it
why
doesn't
we're
mean that it's
continuing.
traveling on the ground the entire time. It could be lifting up, it could be going back and up, it could be changing if it's touching the surface or not. It could be just a funnel the entire time. What there is,
Steve,
concern about is...
when you look at it, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have the Lincoln, our Twin River cam,
yeah.
and you look at that, from your scientific expertise, when you look at that sky, when you see what's going on, I know it's hard to tell because you're not there, but you can clearly see that part of the state, that's Lincoln,
yes.
is it just looks.
It's very ominous, it's
Right.
very dark, and it's going to be interesting to see, because this is actually right in the path of that storm. It's not quite there yet.
You can already see some of the trees in the background there blowing a little bit sideways. Not anything crazy, but it does look a little bit windy there right now based on what
Yes,
we can
and
see.
and that's another factor is, although, again, our focus is the tornado warning, there are strong winds with these storms even when you're not talking about the tornado potentially itself. So the winds in this storm could be upwards of 60 miles per hour. You have potentially quarter-size hail. I know we have a couple flash flood warnings also in effect. So again, we are looking at that tornado threat. This is the correlation coefficient I have on my screen here, and this just shows, again, potentially where debris is being lifted up. And right now, this is, it just moved on me. It's not as bright, if you will, as it was before, but.
And that's a good indication, correct? So we have traffic cameras. This is 146 at Route 44, Alex?
146A.
146, 146A. You know, while we look at this, I do want to ask again back to the control room that we have. We're scheduled to go off the air right about now, and then the road show comes on the air at 9 o'clock on WPRI 12. So, folks in the back, just let us know if we're going to be moving. If we're on WPRI 12 as well. I don't know. We're going to be on both. Okay, we will be on both.
This looks like a windy situation right here, too. The trees are a little bit blowing back and forth. Nothing like you would see in a stereotypical tornado situation, but you can tell it's messy out there. That's 146, 146A. This is now back to, I believe, the Lincoln camera.
And you can see there's more rain on the camera, so the intensity is clearly picking up.
Just to give you guys an idea of how quickly this situation is evolving, I am now looking at 295 on my screen here. Yep, you can see it here. Yep. That is where... That looks a lot better signature of a tornado than what we were looking at just a short time ago.
So better meaning worse.
Sorry, yes. That's a poor phrasing on my part. Better in terms of meteorology, that's a better way to see this signature, but it's worse.
Right now, what we're looking at.
That is a signature that I would say a tornado is most likely on the ground.
Where is that? Zoom in if you could.
We are looking at 295, and this is right next to, I believe that was 146. So we are at basically at the intersection of 295 and Route 146. You can see that green touching the red on Reservoir Ave.
That's north of the Twin River camera we just saw in Lincoln.
Yes,
so you're heading north on 146 as it intersects with 295, which is just like south of North Smithfield, but near Lincoln. There's a rather large industrial park there, the Amica Insurance Industrial Park there. Lincoln High School's up in that area.
Yes, and that, this is moving very quickly north and east towards Manville, towards Cumberland. So again, if you are in these areas, so if you can see it just now, it just crossed. It's now along 146 and 295. This is where, again, you have the winds going in different directions. You can see my bar at the top of the screen. Toward is green, away is a red, and what that means is the Doppler radar is picking up on wind directions going in different directions. So if you think about that in the sky with clouds, they're going in opposite directions. It can create a funnel. So this is where we're looking at, Meadowbrook Road. You can see here we have our Lincoln cam up.
You can see how the rain is moving in front of the screen.
Lots of rain.
This area right here, Stephen, is south of where you saw on your storm velocity graphic of that rotation. So to get an indication, you know, Twin River is a little further south than that area you were talking about in 295, 146 intersection up there. But still, you can tell that the rain is picked up.
Yeah, the rain is coming down. There's definitely, gusty winds, damaging winds, even outside of this area that we're focused on. But again, we're looking at, looks like Old Great Road, crossing 146.
295 and 146 right now, so this is the area.
This is the area where it would be. Again, this is moving so quickly that my velocity scan is
can't keep up. Pretty much.
Pretty much, it can't keep up. It's fairly close, but it's moving. Again, as I have it frozen on my screen, but it's still moving. So
to recap, we had this tornado warning go into effect about 8:40-ish, extending to 9:15. For those folks that are tuning into WPRI 12 for the road show, we are live still with this tornado warning that's still in effect. And about 10 minutes ago, we had that first observed tornado that you talked about a little further west of there. Is there any sort of indication on that same sort of graphic package where you can see or hear about another observed tornado, or are you still waiting for that information to come in?
I'm still waiting. I've been trying to check social media and seeing if there's anything from the Weather Service as well. I just saw the email from our colleague, TJ Del Santo. He said the tornado debris signature moved that was back in Situate, so that was a short time ago. But again, we were watching this area. We have it on your screen here. This is, and you can see the time bar, 8:59. This is updated as quickly as it possibly can. I'm looking Brookside Drive. We are now looking at School Street. Again, this is just north of 295 and just east of now 146. So when you see that green touching the red, this is where a tornado would be. Again, it was originally radar indicated, it went to radar observed, and now we're looking at, this is where it would be if there was a tornado on the ground, and we're looking at this neighborhood here. I believe it's Albion. I could potentially be pronouncing that wrong. I apologize for that.
Yeah, Albion, neighborhood in the Lincoln area.
This is Lincoln again. We can see the camera shaking a little bit.
Albion, Manville, Lincoln, Woonsocket, all in that area.
Yeah, so this is heading up towards, I just want to zoom out a little bit to show you where it's
coming. You see Cumberland there, which is northeast of that of this areas where you can see those different colors now you're showing us on this map.
Yes,
And if
exactly.
you're in this area, another reminder, go to lower ground, basement perhaps. It is going near you right now, and there is the chance that there could be damage to your house. So you want to be sure that you're safe if you're in your house, which you should be. Go to lower ground, basement, away from windows to stay safe.
Yes, and you want to make sure, again, like we said, these storms are moving so quickly. So for those of you that are south and west of this area, I don't want to say you're in the clear, but you're looking better as the storm is moving north and east.
Which is here. So this is 295 at Mendon
Yes.
Road near Cumberland. So if you were driving up 295 towards Route 95 in Massachusetts, right? So this
Yes.
takes you through, the Cumberland area, the Mendon roads, and then you're getting up towards 295, the intersection there, which is like in the Attleboro area, the North Attleboro near the Emerald Square Mall. This would be the road that you'd be traveling to go to those areas. So this area is ahead of what you've been watching on. So they're next to be possibly affected by
I just got an updated scan. This was as of 9:01, so it's every couple minutes. That signature it looked like it has weakened, so that is some good news. But you can see, again, that was along 295 near Cumberland. That was where that signature was, where the greens were touching the reds. I want to zoom back out because we have other areas to watch as well. I am looking down towards Pawtucket. Again, you can see a lot more of these reds on your Central Falls, red touching the green. So there's
Were these areas in that cone of the tornado warning initially?
Yes,
They were.
these areas are as well. So this is what we're worried about because there could be potentially several areas that could have a quick spin up. So this is another area we're focusing on. That other area up in Cumberland, as of right, the latest scan has shown weakening of that signature.
And if you go out wide, Stephen, this was set to expire in about 6 minutes, right? 9:10, you said, the tornado warning, or was it 9:15?
It was 9:15. I can
9:15.
I'm going to change the graphic for us to show. I want to show the severe thunderstorm plus the tornado warning
So
graphic.
within the next 10 minutes or so, this should be, I don't want to say over, but the threat will be less
Yeah,
of a
so
threat?
showing this graphic now, we can see that purple box, which is
Right.
the tornado warning. They've been trimming it back from southwest to northeast. So now, where it was covering most of the state, it's now up towards near Smithfield and Cumberland, where we were just looking at that
Correct.
signature.
On 295.
Yes, 295, 146. That is where we were looking at. And again, this area is exiting. I'm getting texts from a buddy of mine in Cumberland right now, actually. And
Can I also mention, too, Rhode Island State Police are saying they're responding to several weather-related motor vehicle accidents right now on 295 and 95 around Route 44 south and north. We saw an ambulance on the road when we were back looking at the highway a few minutes ago. So, this is having an impact on travel, even if it's not tornado-related, just the flooding that we're seeing and just driving
Right.
in these types of conditions.
And these conditions change so quickly. A friend of mine who lives in Cumberland told me that the wind has subsided, so that tells me that there was at least some gusty, potentially damaging winds in Cumberland a short time ago. But again, these storms are moving so quickly that our radars are scanning and it updates every couple of minutes. But
This is a little further south, Steve. While you continue to look at your graphics over there and move around, I know you have so much to look at over there, and you're tracking so many different models and different programs. This is 95 East Street near Pawtucket. Obviously, traffic is moving slowly. The roads are very wet. The rain is coming down at an intense pace. This isn't too
Camera's
far
shaking
from
a little,
yeah.
too.
This is not too far from our studio in East Providence. And within the last 5 minutes, we had a heavy downpour move through our area here, which is moving north to northeast. So again, this is near Pawtucket. But we're getting into that area, we're like 9 minutes away from this warning. Not that they can't extend it, of course.
Right.
But we're getting it, the point is it's moving quickly. So if there's anything good about these types of situations is they move fast.
Exactly, yes. So these are moving very quickly. It's already, now in the threat zone is in the northeastern part of the state, so still Cumberland. It looks like it's exiting Smithfield. I'm looking out towards Franklin, Attleboro, North Attleboro, Foxborough. Again, I have this on my screen a little bit too zoomed in here, but I'm going to back it out a little bit so you can see exactly where I'm talking about. Severe thunderstorm warnings, by the way, is still in effect for parts of the state. I just got an email from Chief Meteorologist Tony Petrarca. He's currently scanning social media. There's nothing yet from viewers of any reported damage or tornadoes, but the signature that we've been looking at would indicate that a tornado was on the ground, potentially in different spots as well.
And talking about the flooding, too, we just saw 95, I believe, and you could see the cars in the high-speed lane all the way on the left. The water was just, gushing off to the side onto the guardrail, so you can see it's flooding.
Yeah, we've said this a lot this summer when we've had these severe threats is it doesn't take a lot of rainfall. The ground's already saturated, so that's another factor is, again, flash flooding, in addition to the tornado warning that's, of course, in place right now for northeastern parts of Providence County. I just want to go back to, I'll go back to the radar first and give you guys a check of the radar, and you can see how these storms are moving very quickly across our area. Again, these storms originated near New York City and southwestern Connecticut and Long Island Sound. That's how long ago we were tracking these early in the morning as well. Again, there's a lot to look at on the screen. You can see.
So you got a lot of tornado, the warnings up north there, Stephen, but further south, as I'm looking at, if you go wider, and you obviously, you know more about this than I do, but it seems as though the rain, the precipitation, that seems to be more of the issue as compared to the wind is in the north, and then we got a lot of rain in the southern half of the state.
And that is actually a severe thunderstorm warning, which is now issued for basically the entire southern half of the Rhode Island and into parts of Bristol County. That is for heavy rainfall, localized flash flooding, again, gusty winds, looking at also some hail as a potential as well. Also that flash flood warning, by the way, that includes Warwick, Providence, East Providence, down towards Barrington, Bristol, out towards Fall River. That is until 10:45. So even though these storms are moving quickly, they're going to have a little bit of a more lasting, lingering effect with the rainfall, the flooding, and potentially any wind damage that we get reported in from our viewers. So I'm just checking some things here, and
so it's moving north right now into Massachusetts. It's looking like.
Yeah, I'm checking our emails to see if anyone's sent me in any kind of reports from our area. I don't see anything just yet, but.
As you do that, the tornado warning box that you had that, as you mentioned, was shrinking as, time passes here, moving slowly towards Massachusetts. Is that something that's in real time? So if you go to that graphic right now where you see the actual tornado warning box, and you could take a look at it because it's been about 10 minutes since we last checked that one, maybe at this point has that now shifted completely into Massachusetts?
So as of right now, they've been trimming it back, it seems, a couple times as that area that was the focus has been moving very quickly to the north and east. It's still including northeastern parts of Rhode Island and into parts of Bristol County. Let me check. I want to put up.
There is some report, not confirmed or anything on social media, though, someone saying that there was a tree down, at least one, in Cranston. That could be for a variety of reasons, just wind, flooding, causing the tree to give way with the wet ground. But, I guess we are seeing some reports coming in of some damage, but not necessarily related to a potential tornado.
And yeah, and I'm looking at my velocity scan again. So this is, again, the greens and the reds, as I call them. And you can see we have a lot of areas where there's green touching red. Now, that does not mean that there could be a tornado at any of these spots. But what that means is that the
kind of unstable air, unstable.
Yes, there is the winds in the atmosphere or near the surface are traveling in different directions. Right. So that's what creates this potential spin up. And that's why we have reports in several different areas of potentially having damage. Doesn't mean it's from a tornado, but again, we saw a couple good signatures on our, not good signatures, but in terms of meteorological terms, it's a telltale sign that there was a good bet that a tornado was potentially on the ground. I'd say from Scituate and maybe even again up towards Cumberland with that signature that we saw a short time ago. Also
in Lincoln, we saw just north of that 295, 146, the intersection there of those two highways, sort of in the Great Road area.
When you see that green and it's surrounded by the red.
As we like to call it, right.
Yes, that's
now,
when
it's 9/11, right? It's 9/10 was when this expired. Now we're past that window of when there was that tornado warning.
9:15, I think.
9:15, right. So I keep going back to 9:10. It is 9:15. So within the next couple minutes, you'll be getting new information and any potential new warnings or the cancellation of these warnings, correct?
Yes. There's a chance that they will either extend the warning or they will drop it if they feel that the threat is over. But as of right now, I believe it's still up. And I'm looking at, again, so now we're talking far northeastern parts of Rhode Island. So that's east of Diamond Hill. That's east of, for the most part, of Cumberland. It's entering now Massachusetts near Plainville. This is a very broad area of circulation on this scan here.
Folks, you can see the 495, 95 interchange in the Foxborough area, too. So this is, Plainville is just south of Foxborough, just north of North Attleboro. So if we go a little further north, you can see South Foxborough, Wrentham, the outlets in that area. So that's, what does this indicate here, Stephen?
So again, this is the wind directions traveling in different directions. So the winds in green are traveling toward our Doppler radar, which is in Taunton, Mass, and The reds are away. So that indicates, if you just think of it in terms of the sky and the atmosphere and clouds, that shows them moving in two different directions. So it's very broad, but if there was a tornado, I would say that would be, it's a very weak signature, but it would be in the Plainville, North Attleboro area, traveling out of northeastern parts of our state of Rhode Island, and again, moving up into parts of Massachusetts. So I'm going to widen the view here. I actually want to go back to the graphic that shows the warnings, because there's a lot of warnings in place. There's the tornado warning, of course, which is first and foremost, but there's also severe thunderstorm warnings. There's also flash flood warnings. There's a lot of other threats going on right now, in addition to that one. So as you can see, I'm moving this on the screen here. That is the tornado warning that is set to expire at 9:15. And so I know that says radar indicated, but that white outline box is radar. I believe it is radar observed, but I could be wrong. Actually, they may be indicated. I may be wrong on that.
We want to say to Situate Fire, we've been checking in with local fire departments and emergency responders. They confirm they have trees down on Jackson Flat, in addition to Hope Furnace. That's the area that TJ was telling us
Yes.
about earlier, where there might have been an observed tornado.
Yeah, and on that correlation coefficient, what we call it in our terms, it shows the debris being brought into the atmosphere, into the sky. That would indicate either very, very strong winds or a potential tornado, because if you think of the way the tornado funnel is, it would be lifting things off the ground into the sky. So that is a telltale sign that our radar signature showed that there is most likely a tornado at some point on the ground near Situate. Again, that threat continues into Massachusetts from northeastern Rhode Island. If you see on my screen here, they extended a severe thunderstorm warning in up towards Boston. So I know a lot of people are probably traveling there this time of morning on 95. That is a severe thunderstorm warning, but it's purple outline box. That means a tornado is possible, even extended up that far. So this threat continues even up towards Boston, not just, obviously locally
Yeah,
here.
you definitely want to stay off places like Route 24 north and south right now, 95 until this storm passes through, if you have any plans to travel up to Boston within the next, I'd even say, hour or so. While you wait for that to refresh, Stephen, if you go back to your live radar, just so folks at home can have an indication, if you zoom out, how much is left, how much more is behind this system that's coming through, because you can see there's rain all the way back to Hartford.
Yeah, Patrick, I guess the good news is if you're further west, you're out of the severe threat. It's moving so quickly to the north and east. So that's good news that it's leaving us pretty quickly, but you can see there's still some leftover rainfall in parts of Connecticut that we have to get through, but the severe threat is beginning to diminish from west to east, and that severe tornado warning is in effect for 2 more minutes officially, includes northeastern parts of the state and also into parts of Massachusetts, including Franklin, Attleboro, North Attleboro, Franklin and Mansfield, and also Foxborough. So you can see here, I'm going to try to see if we can get a little bit of a loop going on with my radar, see if we can get this in motion.
So it's 9:15 now, Stephen. Do we see it being extended? How will you know?
They would extend it any moment now, and I'm actually going to check right now to see if they are thinking of doing that. I don't see anything yet. So because they issued that severe thunderstorm warning up towards Boston, which is pretty much in the same trajectory as this tornado warning, that tells me that they're going to have this tornado warning expire at 9:15 and then just continue that same cell with that severe thunderstorm warning. So
Now, over time, when a storm system like this travels over land, is it the tendency for it to weaken?
and yes,
Lessen,
it
and
depends.
lessen the severity of the winds and the chance for a possible tornado?
When you get into hilly type terrain, which I
Right.
believe northeastern Rhode Island is, you would have it's harder for it to be on the ground because of the hills. It just doesn't do well. That's why if you notice out in the Midwest, there's flat land and it tends to
Travels
get those
forever.
really big tornadoes. Yeah, the land is just more conducive there to support that. Whereas the hills here, it is tough. It doesn't mean it can't happen, but it's just a little bit tougher to get it. Plus, again, this may have been a case where we could potentially have a couple touchdowns from that same cell over, maybe one was in Situate, maybe one could have been up near Lincoln. That signature was looking on radar that there could have been a tornado on the ground. So that may be a situation where we had a couple different spots that touched down, or it could have been.
Now, it looks like it just changed.
It just,
Yes.
Yep, it just changed. So as of 9:15, that tornado warning is now over. So as of right now, no tornado warnings. We have a flash flood warning in effect for Providence, Warwick, down towards Fall River. Again, I think now the new threat would be that flash flooding threat because the grounds are just so saturated and we just can't really have any more rainfall. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for much of southern Rhode Island. That's from Westerly, Charlestown, Narragansett to Newport, out towards Little Compton. You can see up towards Fall River, Warwick, Providence again. So the storms, they're moving quickly. They are exiting the area, but that tornado warning has been dropped.
Well, Stephen, great job over there. I know we've been covering this now for over 30 minutes as you've been tracking this tornado warning. And now our next job is to figure out if, in fact, there is any damage from these observed tornadoes as was indicated by the computer programs you have over there in the Weather Center. So we got rain now, looks like, for the next hour or so. And then after that, the cleanup. And then once things clear out, Kate, we'll have a better indication if there was any damage from these possible funnel clouds, rotation, straight line wind. We just don't know right now exactly what it was.
Yeah, so we have crews out right now headed to the areas where it looks like there may have been some damage. It looks like there may have been a tornado, if anywhere, and that's believed to be in the Scituate area. Of course, nothing is confirmed yet. That's the job of the National Weather Service now, to have representatives go out, look at how any potential damage fell or was broken by the wind, and to see that pattern, and then they can confirm the strength of a tornado and if indeed one was there. But what we know right now is that radar indicated and observed.
Yes, radar indicated and observed. Of course, yeah, crews will be out. I'm sure the National Weather Service will have a survey crew out at some point, either later today or maybe tomorrow, to check out damage reports and see that. I just want to point out, it just popped up on our screen here, I'm sure you saw it at home, a new flash flood warning issued for now basically all of Rhode Island and now into Massachusetts. So where those storms are traveling, it now includes up towards Boston as well. Now, if you are traveling up north towards Massachusetts, I just want to say that these storms still have the capabilities to produce a tornado. That's that purple outline that you see. So those are severe thunderstorm warnings with the purple outline. That means that a tornado is still possible. So if you are traveling up that way, just be mindful of that. If you're along 95 as well.
We're going to, Stephen, just real quick, we're going to, literally
We're going to keep tracking this.
We're going to ride out the storm here.
Sure.
We're going to stay on the air until till we're in the clear here in Rhode Island and southeastern Massachusetts. And we know we have a lot of viewers that are, outside of Rhode Island in the northern, northwest part, rather the southern part of Massachusetts, southeastern Massachusetts, that do travel up to Boston quite frequently.
Right.
And they're looking at this right now, this time of day, maybe getting ready to head out the door. Obviously, not a good idea at this point. But also at this point, we want to point out that I say the worst of it is over. I mean, flooding is a huge problem.
Yes.
But a tornado, yeah.
But, in the severity level, if you're going to rank them.
Right, tornado would be the top one.
Would be
That
the
threat
one.
has diminished. It's diminished for us locally here in Rhode Island and parts of southeastern Mass, but as that storm tracks towards Boston, again, we are looking at a severe thunderstorm warning. That potential is there, though. I just got an email from Erica Ritchie. I don't know if you guys are able to take a look at that, though. It looks like something from Johnston Fire Department.
Yep, I'll call it up while you continue to look.
Yep, so we are looking at the radar. I have it frozen on purpose because this is the latest scan that I have.
All right, so
And,
I'm going to, just real quick, we want to report, per the Johnston Fire Department,
Yes.
a car on Route 295 South between Greenville Avenue exit and Route 6 exit was picked up 10 feet in the air by a tornado and dropped back down on all four tires. An off-duty Warwick firefighter called it in. Johnston Rescue 3 transporting the driver to the hospital with neck and back injuries. So this is an email that I'm reading from Erica Ritchie, an internal email to all of us. Again, I'll repeat this information, and just the look on Stephen's face when I was reading this, it's one of those how is this possible? Like, it just seems that a car, I don't know what kind of car it was, really doesn't matter.
Right. The fact that
most cars are at least 5,000 pounds.
Yes, and lifted in the air 10 feet. That's
10 feet in the air.
that's
This is
quite
Route
a
295 South between Greenville Avenue exit and Route 6 exit, picked up 10 feet in the air by a tornado, this person's saying it was. Now, whether or not we know it's a tornado or not, we don't, right? We don't know officially if it is, but
Right. It
if
could
a
have
car's
been
picked up in the air
conditions.
10 feet, and that's the description from the police and the person in the car,
Yes.
chances are it was.
And if it's not a tornado, it was very, very, very strong winds that moved through, which is, again, part of that severe thunderstorm that we had move through. That's also a concern, too. Again, this whole system that caused this started in New York City, and it tracked through Connecticut, across Long Island Sound, moved through our area, and now it's pushing up towards Boston. So this storm just keeps on going all the way up towards, like I said, Boston area. Now, the storm is currently now located over, pretty much right over 95. I'm zooming in on here for you guys, near Mansfield. Plainville, it's leaving Plainville and Franklin, Foxborough, up towards Norwood. Again, this is going right up, basically 95 towards the Boston area. So if you are traveling over the next hour or so towards Boston, I would recommend maybe holding off a little bit longer and just trying to wait for this to kind of get further north and kind of clear the area, because between the rainfall, the potential flooding, any potential winds from this storm, I would not want to be out on the roadways right now in this path of storm because there's that. A new tornado warning has just been issued while we're live on the air.
Another one.
Another one. This is for a different area because, as we were talking before, there's different areas to watch. This is for Bristol County. I got to get this up on my screen so I can see a better view of it.
While you do that, Stephen, I know Kate has some new information. Also, I just had a text from a friend who, this isn't a meteorologist or someone from the National Weather Service reporting this, but also telling me that his friend's dad's house in Johnston was affected by what they think was a tornado.
Okay, so that would go along with what the car
yes,
had.
we are a little bit speculating here, but yes, in terms of where we were tracking it on the radar, with the signatures, and for lack of better words, from a meteorological standpoint, were the best signatures of a potential tornado, that is in the area that we saw. Just like when we got that report from 295 south at Route 6, that was where we were tracking it as well. I just want to point out before I get you guys back on, that tornado warning is for northern Bristol County, out towards northern Plymouth County as well. You can see on your screen that's that purple shaded box. I know I don't have any towns on here.
It looked like it was Brockton area.
Yeah, Brockton area. I want to get up on our radar, and I apologize. I have a lot of warnings on here on this radar.
While you do that, we'll go to this video that we have now. This is Mineral Spring Avenue in North Providence here. You can see cars driving through flooded streets. This is from our crew. They dispatched immediately once we had this tornado warning in effect almost an hour ago now. You can see the flooded streets, though, there. That's Mineral Spring Avenue in North Providence. Also, we got a report that there were wires down around the Mineral Spring Avenue area as well in Fitzhugh Street, I believe.
So I asked for a picture from this text that I got from a friend of mine about that situation in Johnston where he said that, he thinks it was a tornado that damaged his home in Johnston. I asked him if he could, at some point when things are safe, to please send along any pictures if possible. Obviously not right now, but, and the quote was, I asked, but he's pretty shaken up.
Wow.
This is rare in this part
rare,
of the country.
And
for
again,
us.
From a meteorological standpoint, I use the term best signature or good signature. Doesn't mean the situation's good, but it means that from our standpoint, looking at radar, when you see those colors,
it's clear and defined. It's what you're looking for. You don't want to see it, but you're looking for it.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to see it, but when you do see it, that's a pretty telltale sign that there's a tornado on the ground. Again, when I got that change from a radar indicated to radar observed, that was a telltale sign that there was a tornado on the ground. This new tornado warning that we've been talking about, again, for northern Bristol County and much of Plymouth County, the northern half of it, it includes from Mansfield, out towards Brockton, out towards Hanson, Bridgewater. You were all in this similar story. You want to get to the lowest level of your home, away from windows. Again, these storms are moving very quickly, and it does not mean the tornado is on the ground, but that threat is there. I want to go to the velocity scan now.
This is in the Route 24 corridor, folks, that, if you're in southeastern Mass, like Fall River heading north towards
Boston, you would be in Brockton.
The Bridgewater areas, all those areas that are in between Boston and Fall River, essentially.
Yes. So this is 95 and 495, the intersection. You can see, again, I'm looking right near Mansfield, East Foxborough, East Mansfield. When you get these reds and greens touching very close to each other, that is where a tornado potentially would be, because you have those wind directions going in two different directions. So you have, again, our radar is located in Norton or Taunton, and toward the greens mean the winds are moving towards the Doppler radar.
Correct.
The reds are moving away from it. So that means the reds are moving northward and the greens are coming towards it southward or southeastward.
Which is rotation.
Which is rotation if you think of a cloud.
Rotation.
Yes,
exactly.
And that's why it doesn't necessarily mean that it's on the ground, but it means that there is clouds in the sky that are in a rotation like a vortex. And that's where that would be when you get the reds touching the greens near Mansfield. So if you're in Mansfield, near 106, if you're North Main Street, East Street, Ware Street, over to Whiteville, Franklin Street, you'd want to be lowest level of your home, away from windows. Again, it's not a confirmed tornado, but there's a tornado warning issued now until 9:45 for much of northern Bristol County out towards northern Plymouth County. I'm going to widen the view here so you can see where exactly we're looking at. This is east of 95 and north of 495, and you can just see that just updated once more. There's still greens touching reds, so I would be looking over in Whiteville, East Mansfield again, where you can see some of these reds and greens kind of in the pixelated region, where there's kind of like a mix of both. That is where we're looking at for a potential tornado, and we'll be looking for reports from that area as well. And I just want to switch one graphic. I'm going to pull this up. This is we call it the correlation coefficient. This is where it would show any type of debris, which is what our colleague TJ Dos Santos was most likely using earlier in the day, earlier this morning. And you can see again, nothing too defined here from my vantage point. I mean, you see those blues and.
So what would show debris for the
So
untrained eye?
if there was a tornado on the ground and you were getting what we call a debris ball, it would literally be it would look like a ball of colors on
Okay.
that screen. So I don't see anything just like that right now, but doesn't mean that there's nothing to come or that already had happened. This is just one frame that I am showing. It's at 9:26. So
Okay, so now back to our area. As the warning is moving north, of course, people driving into that area from where they're watching here. But when we're looking at our viewing area now, the big concern is the flooding and the heavy rains that are coming through, and we're seeing that on some major highways right now. Or Mineral Spring Avenue in North Providence. We already showed you video. We also have video in East Providence here, if we can call that up. Here's the East Providence rain. This is right outside of our
It's our parking lot,
studio.
yeah.
Of
yeah,
course,
you can see the winds. I mean, those are gusting, and the rain's coming down at a good clip. And so all of this again is moving very quickly. It's moving north and east. But as you just mentioned, we all know we've had plenty of rain this summer. Yeah, the grounds have been. I've said that numerous times when I've been on the air that the grounds are saturated. It doesn't take a whole lot to cause issues. When you get rainfall like this, these heavy amounts in a short amount of time, the rain has nowhere to go. It runs off from the ground into the roadways. It causes the flooding. We had some video up earlier with that. And again, so this rain is moving through. The heaviest stuff is now it is pulling east. So, what I'm looking at in in eastern Connecticut, but west of us, it's still raining, but it's lighter rain. So that should help at least somewhat. But, I'm looking at this radar, this image right now that you have on your screen. Providence, East Providence, down towards Warwick, out towards Fall River, down towards Westerly. That whole area, you see that darker red, orange, and yellow. That is the heaviest rainfall that is moving through, so that could lead to areas of flooding. But again, that tornado warning that was issued for parts of Bristol County and Plymouth County that's until 9:45. And again, that storm is moving away from us, but it is moving near 95. And again, you can see those other boxes as well. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings up towards Boston and east of Worcester. Those have that purple outline because even in those cells, a tornado is possible. So there's nothing imminent and there's no warning on it, but that is the way we kind of just decipher all the different warnings that we have.
So we're going to assume here that within the next half an hour or so, this entire system is out into the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes,
and hopefully all of this is behind us. But if you go wider out on the radar, there looked to be another I don't want to say strong cell, but they're in just southeast of Hartford. You can see just about to cross into there's a really strong line that's just sort of dissecting the entire state of Rhode Island right now. But then there's another batch of rain that looks like is just south of, I believe that says Willimantic on the screen.
Yeah, Willimantic.
But there's nothing there that indicates anything near what we just had to deal with as far as the wind and the possible tornado warning, circulation, rotation, anything like that.
Exactly, yes. So that area that is in southeastern Connecticut is non-severe. It's just some rainfall. It looks to me moderate rainfall, kind of the back end kind of stuff as this main line pushes on through. I want to just zoom in a little bit closer. And right now we have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for much of southern Rhode Island. I was going to name the counties, but it's pretty much including all of the southern half of Rhode Island into Bristol County and Mass. That's until 9:45, and that includes Newport, Fall River, Warwick, Westerly, Charlestown, Narragansett, North Kingstown, South Kingstown, Exeter, all those towns it includes, and that is for winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, some quarter-size hail. And again, these storms are tracking north and east, but as I was mentioning before they even hit us, that they were kind of getting more of an easterly component, which doesn't really change a whole lot, but it just means that now the coastline is getting a little bit more involved, whereas it was the northern half earlier.
Right.
So that is the only change that I saw as we were tracking them, is that, okay, this line had expanded further south, and it took more of an easterly component, so now it's moving more so east-northeast versus just north and east. So,
Stephen, North Providence Fire Department, they've confirmed to our crews that trees and power lines are down across North Providence. Phones are ringing off the hook. That could just be from storm damage in general. Nothing really related to a tornado, perhaps. But also Rhode Island Energy is saying their latest outage map update is just about 3,300 customers affected right now with power outages.
wow, yeah. So the areas that we were watching and that we're getting reports in, it's kind of aligning. Situate, parts of Cranston, North Providence. Those are the areas that we were tracking with the tornado signature on the radar. And Now we're kind of getting those reports trickling in of storm damage. So again, we won't know until the National Weather Service gets out there and has a survey team check out the damage and confirm if it was a tornado or not. However, and this is just speculating, but knowing that the signature kind of traveled over those same areas, that would be where a tornado
Right.
would have been. So
When we're
nothing
looking at the
confirmed.
radar, sorry to interrupt, when we're looking at the radar behind you now, we talked about how saturated the ground already is.
Yes.
Now, with this line that's coming through the lower right-hand corner of the state, so the lower southeast corner of the state of Rhode Island, that is mostly rain, but there is wind involved, and there's the potential for flooding. But also in that area is this line that's moving through southern Rhode Island right now, and then into southeastern Massachusetts also contain winds strong enough, because the ground is so saturated, to take down potentially trees and power lines.
And that's a good point, Patrick, that you bring up, because the grounds are so saturated that it may not take a lot of wind to cause problems. We see that sometimes when we have those storms in the fall and the winters, where have all this, for not to compare, but snow on the limbs, and you can get 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts, and it knocks the limbs down because the weight of the snow weighs it down. This is almost a similar situation in terms of the ground, because you have leaves on the trees. The roots are soaked, and you have all the wet weather. The ground is saturated. So yeah, it could be possible that these are from straight line winds, and it just didn't take a whole lot to cause some damage. I just see now that the severe thunderstorm warning again is issued until 9:33, which is right now. It looks like they have either extended it. Something adjusted on my screen. I just had.
You take a look at that, Stephen. I want to report an email that we just got from our assignment desk that power lines down on Mineral Spring Avenue in North Providence near Fitzhugh Street, and trees are blocking the road. So again, this is in that same area that we've been getting the reports where now we're talking almost 45 minutes ago, where you had the icon pop up on the screen that said observed tornado.
And
Yes.
Joe Cortez just posted on social media some photos and video from that area. Same area, Fitzhugh Street, and there are trees down, basically uprooted it looks like. But again, unsure if that's tornado or because of all the wet ground that we have, that some wind blew over.
I mean, it could be straight line winds, it could be a downburst, it could be a tornado. I'm feeling the survey team from the National Weather Service, our Boston office, they'll be out there shortly. They'll be out there momentarily. Once the threat is completely out of our woods, they will probably be out there later on today and surveying it, because this damage looks like it's, for lack of better terms, widespread.
This is 295 right here. You can see first responders, state police, it looks like, leaving the area, but we're told by people who were watching this camera that they were there clearing up some debris that was on the road. And you can see all the traffic was backed up as they worked to maybe block it off to have the opportunity to pick some of it up. That's what it's looking like right now at the 295 camera we're looking at.
Yeah, we were watching the area along 295 a short time ago up towards, I believe that was Lincoln and Cumberland, and yeah, we were seeing some serious signatures on the radar there, and we're getting some emails now more about damage and Situate coming in. So that was the area that we first saw that there was a signature of a tornado on the ground, and that's when my little radar went from radar indicated to radar observed. So that is a telltale sign that with the signature on radar, we're getting some damage reports that there was a good chance that a tornado was on the ground. It's unclear if it was on the ground for a long distance. I'm talking Situate up towards North Providence, up towards Lincoln. But there's a chance that there may have been multiple touchdowns from this cell, because it was just moving so quickly too.
And when we're looking at the power outage map here, at least with Rhode Island Power, it's kind of reflecting everything that you've been saying, of course, and that's that there are power outages mainly centered around the Johnston, North Providence area. Johnston and Coventry have 1,500 plus residents without power now. East Providence has over 1,000 without power. So whatever kind of storm situation they had, whether it was mainly wind, rain, combination of both, maybe a tornado, we're seeing the damages here. And our photojournalist Corey Welch just sent in some photos of damage in Situate. He also spoke with some residents there, so we're hoping to hear from them in a little bit as well.
I want to pass this along. So this is in the same area, Steve, where we were talking about seem to be the most intense region of where these things could be touching down, these the circulation and such. My in-laws that live in Lincoln, not too far from the area where we had seen, that 295, 146 intersection of highways there. And I asked him, he's near the Great Road area in Lincoln, which is just a bit south of 295, and said, any damage near you? And he said, only heavy rain, no lightning, thunder, or wind. So it's amazing that
It's so specific, location specific.
That is actually, it's interesting, because if it's so calm there, there's a chance that somewhere else it was not quite as calm.
And we're talking
a short
literally
distance.
a handful of
Streets,
miles
yeah.
or less.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, maybe not so much. Yeah, it could be streets, but also we're not far from where we're seeing most of this damage in, say, North Providence, which of course borders Lincoln. And so he's more up in northern Lincoln and there. So it's amazing to hear no lightning, just heavy rain, a little thunder, no wind. So
Yeah,
it's
and I'm actually
eerily quiet
I
where he
want
was.
to text my someone that I know up in Cumberland and see if they had any damage up where they are, because they told me the wind had subsided. That was what the text said to me.
So it could be so intense, right, in one
Yeah.
specific little area. We hear about this in the Midwest, these tornadoes, where one block is not even touched, and the other
Exactly.
side of the street is ruined.
How about this? Another report from Saunderstown, someone saying it was maybe a little bit of drizzle, dry skies, but then we were looking at how it was crossing right over that whole region.
Yeah, and
So-
it's very location dependent. And again, the northern half of the state saw this very severe, storm move through. Potentially, there was a tornado in at least one spot. Potentially, the survey team will let us know if that was the case. But it's also, it's much quieter in some of the other parts.
We want to remind folks that we know a lot of people are eager when something like this happens, when there is damage, when there is flooding. In this day and age that we live in, it's the first reaction is grab your phone, get out there and take video of it. We appreciate that. We want the pictures. We want the video reported at WPRI.com. But first and foremost, we care about your safety, just like we care about the employees here that are going out right now to get video of what could be a potential a damaging situation in these areas. So please, be careful. This is all going to move out of here within the next half hour or so. If you see damage, wait. There's no rush. Then you can get it. And if you want to share it with us, we appreciate that. Report it at WPRI.com. But we're seeing everything.
Stay safe, yeah.
Stay safe. But we're seeing everything from the wind damage, which will hopefully be now, I don't want to say over, but the worst of it is over. Now we're seeing reports, our own Ted Nisi, very bad street flooding near Bayview Academy in East Providence. Couldn't even stop to take video of it.
And we're hearing
Yes.
thunder over our studio in East Providence, looking here at the Wampanoag Trail. Pretty quiet on the roads there, actually. But yeah, we're hearing of flooding. This is also an area where there's power outages. So this is, the East Providence area right
Yes,
here.
and I just want to chime in, Kate, not to cut you off.
Yeah.
This is a case where on the radar, the storms are moving east. You can see them, those oranges, yellows, reds, those are pushing to the east. But that flash flood warning remains in effect until 10:45. So we're talking still an hour plus more from now until then. So the rain is going to linger, and you don't want to be, heading out on the roadways where there's flooded roadways, and you don't want to be driving through those flooded roadways. You want to turn around, don't drown. That's why we say that, because, your cars can't handle the flooded roadways, and you don't want to get stuck and having to be rescued from emergency responders.
We're off camera, Kate. I'm going to have you take over
Yeah.
for a minute. This is some video that was just sent to me from Johnson. Now, Stephen's looking at it. We're off camera here, but you can't see it at home, but you can see trees certainly going in different directions.
Yes,
I'm not sure of the
trees.
neighborhood, not ready to report this for consumption for the general public, but this is the one I was talking about earlier where a friend of mine texted in. This said my friend's family house just got, he said, whacked pretty hard with a tornado.
Yeah, that what I'm looking at on Patrick's phone here is, you see trees in different directions. So not saying that was from a tornado, but that would be one of the signs you look for as a meteorologist if you're looking at a survey.
Again, in that area where you had that icon pop up on the screen that said "Observe Tornado." This was now an hour or so ago.
Yes, and when you start seeing those trees in different directions or limbs in different directions and wires kind of mangled and stuff, that to me would be of something that is quite literally spiraling and moving it in different
And a
directions.
very specific path. We always
Yes.
see how it has a very specific path where one house is perfectly fine, but the house next to it could be damaged, and then the next house is fine. We also are getting an update from East Providence Police. The sergeant saying that cars were stuck in floodwaters at Sutton and Irving, and the Rebello Tunnel is currently closed due to flooding there. Trees are down on South Broadway. A tree has been cleared from Roger Williams Way and North Broadway. Over 1,000 customers from Rhode Island Energy without power in the East Providence area. So we're seeing some damage from all of this, even though that's from the rain most likely and the wind and potential flooding in that area, because we're dealing with all of these different conditions, not just this tornado warning, which has been the focus this past hour.
So as we look now at the screen, at what we just had on there, I don't know if we can go back to it. It's really not anything of significance other than the fact that this is 195 east and west, right near the state line, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Seekonk, East Providence area, not too far from where we are located. But this is the area, Stephen, that is dealing with just heavy rain. You can't see much as far as like trees moving because of wind, but the amount of rain that's come down in this area and that will continue to come down from here to points south and east is something that's, we're talking about a different kind of concern.
Right, yeah. So the severe concern does not end at the tornado warning, which is still in effect for parts of Bristol County and Plymouth County. I'm talking Brockton. I'm going to zoom in here if I have you on the screen here. Yep, I'm going to zoom in. So you have Brockton near Bridgewater, Hanson. It's been trimming back. It did include Mansfield a short time ago. It does not include at least the downtown as of right now. It's moving eastward. Again, this cell up towards Weymouth, Randolph, Brockton, Hanson, out towards Situate and Marshfield are not included. That's getting out towards the coast there. But these storms are, again, moving very quickly, and they are approaching the coastline. Again, I know many people are traveling. It's, of course, the morning commute. People may be traveling along 95 up towards Boston. Now, that cell is, although the warning is south of 95, it's still nearby. And again, heavy rainfall up towards Boston if you are traveling that way. I want to take things down back to our area, though. Out towards Taunton, Warwick, Fall River. That severe thunderstorm warning still is ongoing. And that actually expires, or set to expire, at 9:45. So in about 4 minutes, that warning is set to expire. It's unclear if they're going to extend it out towards New Bedford or points further east, but that is what we're looking at right now. Again, aside from the wind threat and that tornado threat that we had earlier, like Patrick's been saying and Kate has been saying, the heavy rain threat is really one of the most important threats, because I feel like it's
the ground is so saturated
already
that any little bit could really have
and
some
it doesn't
damage.
take a whole lot to cause issues. We've been saying that, even when we had other rain events going on the past couple of times. So
this is our Kettle Point camera, by the way, in East Providence.
yeah, a very stormy look. That's what we've had again all morning long. Again, I just want to, for those of you that maybe have been waking up a little bit later on today, and we've been tracking these storms since 4:30. They had started up near New York City, southwestern Connecticut, western Long Island Sound. That's where we first saw this kind of flare up with lightning and strong storms. And we watched these storms push through Connecticut, the coastline of Connecticut, into our area over the entire morning show that we have. So
That's hundreds of miles that this thing stayed together and traveled at a good clip, very good clip, very fast.
And we were watching the storm over the border, myself and our chief meteorologist, Tony Petrarca. We were texting back and forth pretty much all morning long. He was looking at the radar too. And we saw certain signatures in Connecticut that would hint that there was a chance of a tornado. There was no warnings over there as far as we know, but we were watching that storm, and again, it's made its way through here. So we had the warnings here, and again, some signatures that showed that there could have been a tornado.
I have another friend, a text from a friend that has a friend of a friend, that got a text, Foster, someone that he works with, says trees down all over the place. Again, now we go back up to the northwest part of the state where the focus was this morning of that cone, that we don't say a cone of uncertainty, that's of course for hurricanes, but we had that cone pop up of the warning cone
Yes, the
for
warning cone
tornado
for the tornado
possibility.
yes. And again, right when I saw that the warning had, because usually when we get these tornado warnings, it's often radar indicated, because that's usually what pops off first. So I was on, and that's what it said at first, and then it switched to that observed, which means radar is observing it, and I'm gonna say that was most likely what TJ Del Santo was looking at too.
The Situate area,
yes,
right?
that the radar picked up on that signature, and it looked like it was that a tornado was occurring.
And we're also looking, just another update from the Rhode Island Energy outage maps. It looks like really the heart of the issue right now, for power outages at least, is either East Providence and then also Johnston, North Providence, and Coventry. They have about 1,500 customers who are affected right now. It's estimated that they'll get the power back around 11 o'clock this morning. We also want to mention, too, in any situations like this you're watching right now, we've been getting actually some reports, people thanking us for keeping them weather aware. In the past, whenever we have these situations, and just at least I can say through my career, too, when we tell people to stay safe during a tornado, some people say, well, thank you saved our lives, literally saved our lives, because we went into the basement and they had damage to their house, and that could have been, hitting them or whatever. So this is important, but we want to mention that if you do end up getting a power outage or whatever, it's always a good idea to keep your phone with you or some kind of mobile device that you can bring down to the basement or a lower area with you so you can keep watching the radar and keep watching our coverage. Steven's tracking it, our storm team's tracking it. They can update you when it's safe to go back upstairs, when the threat is over, when the warning is over. And as we saw here, that warning was over for the tornado. Now we're looking at storm damage and also the heavy rain that's still going through our area.
So I just want to jump in real quick, Kate, if you don't mind. This is the velocity scan. We've been looking at this all morning long. I call it the red and green because it's the best way to describe it. It is wind direction. Our radar is located in Taunton. So the radar is picking up on winds traveling in different directions. That's the reds and the greens. So the greens are moving towards the radar. So if I zoom out here, that means the greens are moving towards that radar down in Taunton. The reds are moving away. When you get these touching each other, I'm looking right here, south and east of Randolph. I know this is getting a little bit further east of us, but this is where the area to watch is. This little area right here along near Holbrook. That is one area to watch for potential tornado. And also over here near Hatherley and South Weymouth, where you get those greens and reds really touching. Those are areas to watch for some potential rotation. And that tornado warning, by the way, for those of you that may have friends and family out towards Cohasset, Scituate, that has actually been extended to the coastline, and that is until, I believe it was 10:45. I want to pull that up on the screen
We're talking
here.
Scituate, Mass. Now.
Scituate, Mass, yes.
This is right on the south shore of Boston.
Right.
Yes, we're talking far east Massachusetts now. That same cell that moved through here is now moving up towards that direction. You can see here. So I just want to update everyone on the warnings that we have. Severe thunderstorm warnings have expired. Tornado warnings in Rhode Island have expired. So this tornado threat is for far eastern Massachusetts. You can see that on your screen there. It's up south of Boston. But again, for locally here, our new threat is going to be the flash flooding. I can pull that up right now. And you'll see the flash flood warnings that are in effect. There's a whole lot of them. These are all flash flood warnings. I'm going to zoom out here so you can see. As of right now, it does not include the southern half of our state, so it does not include Newport, Westerly, Richmond. However, that could potentially change as these storms are pushing further south and east across that area. But you can see the reds here, including downtown Providence, Warwick, Fall River, New Bedford, Woonsocket, out towards Smithfield, down towards Coventry,
right.
Scituate. Yeah.
We do have some video just in, Stephen. We'll let you regroup for a minute over there. And this is some damage in Scituate. I'm waiting to hear the exact location. These are live pictures, actually. Okay, this is live.
Do we know what street this is?
Do we know where we are looking here in Scituate? And again, Stephen, you can chime in here. I know it's tough from your perspective here in the studio. You're not there, but you can see the amount of damage.
Yeah.
Again, this is right in that Scituate, Johnston path, that area, also into northern Lincoln. But even like I mentioned, my father-in-law texted me, he's in Lincoln, the northern part of the state. He told me, just some rain, almost eerily quiet.
Right, and that's almost that's almost a sign that there, it may have been very noisy and busy somewhere else, not too far away because of that. I'm getting a couple texts from someone that I know in Cumberland.
Do we have while you do that? What do we know where this is live? We don't. We don't know exactly where this is live in Scituate.
You can see the trees split in half, though.
Trees are split, and
now that's not damage right there, Stephen. That's not from wet soil. When you see a tree snapped at its base, that's not roots coming up. That's a tree being knocked over because of something that had to do with wind.
Very strong winds, and what I'm looking for in this video right now, I'll leave it to the survey team to officially say anything, but I'm looking for tree branches and trees on the ground in different directions and just looking at widespread damage. This is very widespread. You can see things kind of in different directions.
Yeah, it looks almost like a circle, actually, the way that the tops of the trees are facing.
Again, this is just me talking from our studio. I'm not there in person, so I can't say for certain, and I'll leave that to the National Weather Service survey team that should be out here most likely later on today. And you can see this damage is just, again, it's like Patrick just said, it's not roots up, it's trees split in half.
Being sheared, like there's parts of trees being sheared off.
Like
so
there are strong winds dropping.
That's not because of wet soil.
And what I want to remind viewers of too is
we also have pictures from Johnston. If you folks want to switch to the Johnston pictures as well, we'll get back to Scituate in a minute. But this is Johnston. Again, don't know the exact location, but this is sort of in the same area where I was getting those texts from a friend who said his friend's house was damaged by, at the time, he said tornado, not confirmed, didn't know exactly what it was. Again, we don't know what this is, other than the fact that this is Johnston, and this is a rather large tree down. It's tough to see from where we are. It looks like it came down near the base of the tree. But again, I mean, but look, there's a tree right here, Stephen, that's maybe 100 feet away from the one that's down, and it could be that isolated. You just don't know.
The Scituate one, I believe, is Byron Randall Road. That's where our crew was this morning, Byron Randall Road, and that's where the damage was that they were looking at. So that's likely what we were just looking at live.
So we're going to remind folks that we are going to stay on the air until 10 o'clock this morning as this threat diminishes, especially the tornado threat, which is not in our viewing area right now. There are folks on the south shore of Massachusetts. If you want to go back, we know the flood warning, but this radar loop, you know, as it's moving out of here.
I can actually, I can go back several hours to almost, if you want to see the
I
whole.
think at this point, so because it was about a little over an hour or so ago that we had the observed tornado graphic pop up. I don't know how easy this is for you to do, but if folks could see the train of this thing, you know, I would say from 8 o'clock in the morning through now, you can see the intensity, how it ramped up, where it was located, and especially where those areas were that were affected by the circulation, the rotation in the atmosphere that you were tracking, and that eventually led to, like I'd say about an hour and 5 minutes or so ago, to that icon popping up where we had that observed tornado. So here you can go. So it started at about 8 o'clock, and this is now 9:50. And right about just before, you know, it was just before 9 o'clock. It was about 8:50 where we had that cone of a tornado warning in the northern part of Rhode Island, and now indications are, I mean, we're going way back here now, right? This is 5 in the morning. But you can see right here, New York City, Bridgeport. That's where we were, actually, you and I were talking about this morning. I was like, my friend's a meteorologist in Hartford. He said he's really concerned about this cell that's over Manhattan at 5:58. And then 3 hours later,
it's moving through us and
it's
causing
moved through
damage.
us, right.
And how, look how quick it is
so
now.
you can show us how this sort of developed and moved.
This is again around 6 o'clock in the morning, and this is actually at the start of it. This is a little bit further up, but watch, it's going to play pretty quickly here, but watch as we go put this in motion. Travels along Long Island Sound into eastern Connecticut. It flares up along eastern Connecticut and just pushes on through, and that's where it is currently. So look how it sparked over New York City, and it just traveled across the coastline of Connecticut into our area. I can actually get a little bit closer if you want.
And I'm looking at the Eversource map, just checking power outages, and that path is exactly the path of power outages in Connecticut. It's right along the coast all the way up. We're seeing power outages. That's Eversource. Rhode Island Energy, we have 5,000 or so, but they're mainly centered in the Johnston area, Coventry, North Providence, and then also over 1,000 in East Providence right now. I'm checking National Grid as well as the storm moves up through Massachusetts to see how those are doing.
And
so we have about 6 minutes before we go off the air here. I want to check in with folks in the back. And Alex, is there anybody that is on the ground near that live location in Situate where we had that camera? Any of our reporters there, or is it just a camera at this? Okay, we do have live pictures from Johnston right now. We do not have a reporter yet in Situate. We do have crews that are now out on the roads getting to these various locations.
This is our breaking news 1 vehicle, I believe. You can see,
massive tree down in the middle of the road.
Wow.
Power lines down as well.
Ryan Welch is outside the car, actually. I can see him holding the camera there, I believe.
One of our photographers there, chief photographer, one of them. So, again...
And you can see there, too, how the tree is splintered right at the bottom there to your left of your screen, how it looks like it was just sheared off and down over the road.
That's a signature of some very strong winds. What happens with this, the very heavy rainfall that moves through, when you have these storms that are moving at a quick speed, and they're on the severe side, those heavy rains can actually bring down some stronger winds aloft from the sky and bring it to the surface. So that's what we call downbursts, and also just those straight line winds. So we won't know until the National Weather Service survey team gets out here and investigates the damage reports and sees if this is in fact from a tornado or potentially multiple tornadoes, or if this is just straight line wind damage or wind damage from the thunderstorm itself.
It's amazing as we wrap up our coverage here at the 10 o'clock hour that this is such a rare phenomenon for this part of the country, tornadoes and funnel clouds and the like. But over the last 2 weeks, we had one confirmed one. Actually, we had 2 last week in Massachusetts. One on the Cape,
one on the Cape, Marston Mills.
Marston Mills.
A couple of years ago, we had one in the Douglas area, and I believe one right over the line in Massachusetts, maybe Uxbridge or something. But yeah, now, it's rare.
It's not confirmed. Obviously, we're not jumping to that conclusion yet, but based on the computer programs and the technology, Stephen, that you were looking at, and when we see that on the screen, right, observed tornado, you can't get much more high-tech than the equipment you have over there in that corner of the room. So we will wait, obviously, for the National Weather Service to confirm if it was, in fact, EF0, EF1, you just don't know.
Right.
But some of the damage you've seen and the pattern of some of the trees that are down, lead you to believe that this wasn't just a normal thunderstorm that rolled through here.
Yeah, there's based on the signatures that we saw, that would make me believe that. If I didn't see those signatures on the radar, I would be a little bit more skeptical, but we'll see what they say. Either way, I'm sure there'll be more damage reports coming in from across the state, because this was a large line that moved through, a strong line. Again, brought wind damage to Scituate, North Providence, Cranston, looking for damage up in Cumberland and Lincoln. Again, and I got a report from someone I know in Cumberland. There's been not much wind damage, but there were high winds for about 10 minutes.
And to recap just really quickly here, is there a threat anywhere, a warning anywhere still for a tornado, even in the South Shore, Massachusetts area?
So that one is still, I believe, ongoing until 10:45.
Okay.
It
Right.
includes Cohasset out towards Scituate, Mass, not Rhode Island, Scituate, Mass. I'm talking south of Boston.
Situate,
yes.
Hingham area, Plymouth.
Yes.
Yeah, all of the Hull areas, which are just
So-
south of the city of Boston.
Yes, that is the tornado threat away from us. We are looking at a flash flood threat for the remaining couple of hours, several hours, as these showers and storms continue to pull away. There's the radar loop you can see. Again, this is going back well into the morning, but
Our crews are on top of it, as you saw. We're live in many locations. Steven's here tracking along with our storm team here in the building, so we will have you covered. Make sure you have your mobile device with you too, and WPRI.com.
And we'll be back on live at noon with the very latest updates.